Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, for today, the idea is simple. BFDIE Day, indeed it is, which means that we will have to chat about that, see what the state of BFDIE ends up being as of the second episode. Of course, there was a lot of chat about it. We even did a custom episode, right? However, as I'm currently talking to you, I still have not, it's not released yet, so I will be taking a look at other stuff first. However, they will be showing after, alright? So what we will be doing is I will segue you into me having post-watch BFDIE, and then me from right now will go watch other stuff, alright, that you will see after the BFDIE segment on this very video, alright? Does that all make sense? I hope it does. There's not too much else to chat. I'll mainly do the chat after, okay? Alright. Alright, so BFDIE 2, the bare minimum. Now, that is an interesting episode. So, the state of BFDIE is here what we're trying to clock, right? It's basically, we covered last week the drama, right? It was the drama, like, what was going on? Because of the expectations, you know, about the 100th BFDI episode and all that jazz, right? Like, we were doing all that stuff, because it was such an integral part of the reveal, right? And it ends up that everybody watched it right with this hype. So then it kind of became complicated when it was just kind of a relatively simple video, right? However, now we understand BFDIE, and the people that are going to be watching this are going to be much more, you know, neutralized to the idea, to the concept. You know, we know what it is, we understand it. And now it's just about the show itself, right? Like, the discussion for BFDIE stops being about the surrounding behind the episode and just kind of about the episode, the concept. Is it good? Is it what we need? Is it what we want? I believe, okay, my personal eyes on this is that it is a solid episode. I mean, like, yeah, it's simple, you know, in a way where, however, it's built around the simplicity in a pretty good way, because despite not having, of course, viewer voting, it manages to take that to its strength in a way, because by having an entirely 100% performance-based competition, where the last place gets out, it's simple, last place gets out, it encourages sabotage, it encourages friendship, and it encourages other stuff, because, like, in a viewer-based competition, how you would do it is the top dogs qualify, and then all of the lowers go up for Elam, right? Which doesn't encourage that much sabotage friendly, because you have to be very worried about yourself, right? Like, it's very self-centered. Like, you have to make it to the top, right? But, like, when you have to just make it throughout, not the bottom, every individual thing becomes, like, it's not as much of a personal burden on the character, which means that there's a much more, which means that there's a much stronger, like, emphasis on trying to get threats out, you know, kind of like how Sticker and Fern are trying to get, no, not Sticker and Fern, I confused it, Fern and the other guy, what are they called? Nah, they're no, I forgot, I'm elite tier, not smart. What are you? Toothpaste, yes, Toothpaste, sorry, and Toothpaste, you know, trying to get Rose out, right, like, all of this type of alliance, right, is like trying to properly function, to get opponents out, to get your friends with it, kind of like how Sticker and Rose are helping each other out, right, as like their alliances, right. Same thing goes for like the Ruler and Jammy, technically, I guess, right, or like Sidewalkie trying to sabotage everybody else, and it's like, it's that stuff, right, that allows for more direct interaction, right? Because even though you think, oh, well, it's an individual challenge, no, because you don't have to make it to the top. If you don't have to make it to the top in this individual challenge, then that means that you can work with your friends, right? And try to get them out of the bottom, you know, get a collective out, instead of just yourself. basically. All right. Yeah. Overall, this cast is interesting because it's very tight knit. You know, it's a very tight knit cast, which means that it's kind of like you can see the duos being laid out pretty clearly in this episode. Sidewalk is the lone alpha wolf, you know, kind of like, I am the strong guy who will murder for the sake of winning, right? And most characters are too dumb to really notice. Like this guy is standing in front of Money's basket literally the entire time, and Money doesn't have the idea the entire time of just get from the sidewalk the other direction. It's a 3D world, you're not living in 5B. What are you doing? Like, yeah, like the average brain soak of BFDI style writing is not very high. But again, like, it's simple in a way where it's like, it's easy watching, you know? Like, it's nothing that you're supposed to analyze. It's nothing that you're supposed to overthink, you know? In the same way that I think BFDI was like, you're not supposed to overthink it, you're not supposed to overanalyze it, right? Like, I saw people complain, right, about like when Toothpaste was like, we're enemies now, and like in this episode we're like, I have decided to forgive you, we're best friends now, yeah, right? And it's like, okay, I understand if you were in a serious 100% show, you would be like, why did this happen? How did this happen? When did this happen? What is going on? That's dumb. That's bad writing, right? That's horrendous writing. That's like, okay. I understand the critique, okay. But like when you're setting yourself up in a situation where like the characters just kind of do things, like you're not supposed to analyze it, you know, it's kind of one of those things. And that's why I'm not talking too much about the episode when I'm doing these BFDI discussions, because it's like there's not too much to analyze in this video, you know, like what Ruler and Jammy are doing, right? Like what David is doing, you know, and how like the ball is conveniently going to the top of a mountain and falling down a hole. Like, yes, it's stupidly convenient, right? However, I'm not gonna get annoyed by stupidly convenient in the show that's entirely about comedy and is not trying to be serious in any way, right? I get annoyed about it if it's a show that's trying to do something, that's trying to tell me something, you know, it's trying to be real in a way. This isn't. So, you know what? Yes, do the easy comedy. I approve. Seal of approval. Right? So like I'm entirely in agreement, right? This will probably be the last time that I'm gonna like more properly discuss BFDIE in terms of like how, if it's a good idea, right? Because after this week we'll get it, right? The discussion will be over, because last week was kind of overshadowed. This week I have to probably discuss, is BFDIE a good concept? Is it good? Are these episodes good? What is going on? Right? And then afterwards we can just kind of chat about the show, who's gonna win, right? All that stuff. But for this week, I think that we can still kind of have this conversation. But yeah, I think it's fun. The gags, they're simple, but they work. You know, the gag of the fellas always standing next to the recovery center where they say the Cheater Alliance, right? Like, again, it's easy, but we're understanding. There was a lot of thought put into, okay, how do we write BFDI style? There was a lot of thought put into it by the two writers who were, do I remember their names? Sam Thornbury and Florence Chappell? Maybe. Those might be the two characters. But yeah, they end up having the whole scenario. The announcer, you know, being constantly just terrible at spotting cheating, right? Or any of that stuff, right? It's just absolutely, Jammy and Ruler having their whole thing going on. Like, it's all like, all of this stuff is like, yes, you know, it's sure. You know, it's all that stuff. What am I actually thinking of the characters though? Okay, let's have a chat about the characters. Okay, let's go one more. Let me go to the poll there at the end so that we can more properly clock it. Okay, so Beach Ball doesn't get to do much in this episode. The joke with Beach Ball is that they were used as a ball. Sticker put them in, and even though they counted, they couldn't leave. I don't know what would happen if it left, but they just couldn't leave. Illegal. Okay, sure. Hold on. If Beach Ball left, would Beach Ball, what would happen? You know, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. But either way, we're kind of respecting the announcer. But Beach Ball at the last second ends up getting in thanks to Sticker, who, to be fair to Sticker, we kind of forgot because Sticker was helping out Rose so much, but ends up throwing in some balls at the last second, and ends up kind of saving Beach Ball. Okay, Beach Ball's gonna get saved anyways, but either way, Sticker ends up dropping in. Very cool. Enjoy that. I think Sticker's fun. Out of the characters, okay, probably my favorite. I enjoy Sticker in the way where they're like they're logical, but they're also illogical, but they're also kind of just pure fun. Like in the way that they make decisions. They make decisions kind of for fun value more than for many other things, which I think for in this case is kind of it's kind of one of the best characters to work around it. Also gotta enjoy some non-binary representation, right? So like, yeah, I think Sticker's cool. Design is cool. The way that they're also unafraid of character like Sidewalky, yeah, is all cool. David is okay. David is David. We're seeing like David solo is kind of an interesting thing to look at, right? In the last time I talked about BFDI, I judged this to be a different David than the David that's in BFDI because they're a species, right? Davids are a species, right? However, yeah, well, I think somebody in the comment pointed out that the thing about the David in the species, is that usually they're not referred to as the David, they're not referred to as just David, right? So the possibility that this is a David and the prize gets to be trying to join BFDI would be interesting, although that's not the prize. The prize isn't trying to join BFDI. The prize is that weird island. So I don't know if it's the same David. However, I think I'm now believing it is because the main thing about the David species is that they're much larger. Remember, the David species is much larger in David land, right? So this David is like the smaller version of it. So like it was a custom one, right? Yeah. Fern is kind of just pretty, kind of just goes along, kind of the go along with it character, right? Fern is a go along with it character that does pretty good job at going along with it. If anybody tells him a thing, they're like, oh, okay, yeah. Jamie is currently acting as a sidekick to Ruler. People, I think, have been unsure whether to be like, yo, should these two be a thing or not? Debatable. But like they seem to have enjoyable moments. It kind of depends if the credits canon, because when the credits when they're just like playing around, I don't know, but yeah, Jamie is fun. I like how Jamie kind of likes the rules. However, the announcer keeps going like, no, I do not respect your opinion on the rules, and fucking murders. Good night, and bro, like bro, that's crazy. And Ruler is Ruler is kind of acting a little bit overbearing in the sense of like, I am going to try to take advantage. I'm trying to maximize it. I don't blame Ruler for just using the thing, because Jamie was like, I will be your servant to every need, and it's like, okay, I mean, yes, I will use that to my advantage. That's not necessarily a problem, right? However, I do think that Ruler, it's just a little bit exaggerating. Like at a certain point, you should listen to the side. The sidekick tells you this is too much, probably too much. It could take 2 trips. Like, it's okay, right? Yeah, ends up being an abysmal. Either way, they're both safe, but yeah. We end up having Needy. Okay, so Needy ends up lining up with Money. Money ends up kind of talking over to Needy a little bit in this season. And it goes that Needy just kind of is the character that does the minimal amount of effort. Again, as I said last time, I think this is a really interesting construct to Needle. We have no idea now if like we need to write it so that Needle's Don't Call Me Needy is actually in relation to this character, if they actually know each other or something. I don't think they do. That'd be weird. Like a weirdly important plot to add. Like I don't think they do, but like it's kind of it's an interesting possibility. But yeah, Needy is of course trying to put in the bare minimum effort to win challenges, and in this case they do by sliding their basket in the last second on what was going to fall over Money's basket, right? So they get 1 and don't get eliminated. This theoretically should work for like 2 more episodes. I probably said that they're exact type of character that gets eliminated mid-table. They can say, oh, how long is Needy gonna stay on? But at a certain point, like, okay, we get it, right? They can probably not make it too far. But yeah, she's doing all right. It's an interesting character. The kind of more villainous one, like I think it's one of the ones that the viewers would go more like, how's she still in this? She's doing nothing, you know. But like, yeah. Rose has been kind of, yeah. Rose has been the other lone wolf in a way. Rose, okay, Sidewalkie is intentionally being the lone wolf. Rose, people just kind of don't like Rose for some reason. Like there was just a unanimous agreement between the other contestants that yo, Rose, we kind of don't like Rose. Digital Circus kind of mid, they said, in unison. So yeah, Rose kind of getting chased around quite a bit, but Rose is kind of very serious character, you know. It's an interesting kind of going like proper, it's not serious is not the right word. It's like very I don't care about the situation character, you know. Very like, oh, you're chasing me, oh, okay. Like they, like, of course they'll do stuff that's important, you know. They are not they're not I don't care in a different way that Needy doesn't care. Needy doesn't care because Needy doesn't want to put in the effort. Rose will put in the effort that's necessary. They just don't, like, she just doesn't care what situation Rose ends up in, right? Like Rose is kind of like, oh, okay, I'm in this situation, I mean, I run away, right? But like I'm not going to be like overly mad or hyped about it. There's just not much emotion going on, right? So yeah. And then there's Toothpaste. I think the joke with Toothpaste is that they're one note in a way, right? Where they're like they're just like, I either hate you or I love you, or like what one or two, you know, like I either big fan, like there's always just one state of mind that Toothpaste is in. They're either yes or no. Yeah, it's kind of like there's not a range, there's not a spectrum of emotion with Toothpaste. It's just either yes or it's no. You know, it's like it's a YN. It's a 0 or 1. You know, with Toothpaste, it's like you're my enemy, you're my best friend. You know, it's either I need no help or please help me. You know, like there's like it's 1 and 0. There's not too many over going on here with Toothpaste, which yeah. But overall, it's a solid cast. It's a solid cast. They make good duos. You know, we're making good duos. Like Rose, Thicker than Jammy and Ruler, right? But then there's a couple of ones that are a little bit changed. You know, Needy and the kind of team of whoever the hell doesn't know what the fuck they're doing in that challenge, right? I mean, Needy, what are you doing? They're going or whatever. Beach Ball kind of going weird. I'm pretty. The interesting question whether Beach Ball is different from the mini counterpart, whether Rose and Beach Ball are different characters, that is interesting. Like quite a bit. Because, again, I haven't watched the minis, but I've heard that Beach Ball is a murderer in the minis. Like, I heard that Beach Ball is a menace. But here, Beach Ball's not a menace. Beach Ball hasn't done anything. So it's like, oh, are these different characters? Because, I mean, I feel like it'd be smart for them to be the same, right? Because then at least it puts in some additional continuity on minis. But it doesn't look like it. I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe. But, yeah, overall, that's my overall chat about the characters, which I didn't really do the other time. When I usually do for episode 1s, right? So I wanted to take this additional moment to have this chat about the characters. But overall, I think that the series is very nice. We studied the old BFDI style a lot to write these episodes for sure. And I think it does a good job at just capturing the raw. Okay, yeah, it doesn't make much sense. Who cares? Who gives a shit? Just kind of, yeah, just it's all fun and games out here. We just enjoying life, playing the videos. You know, you get to watch and experience. You don't need to think too much about it. You can just go, oh, that's cute, oh, that's funny, oh, that's fun, right? And not need to worry, when did this happen in the why did you put the beach ball to the thing? You know, like it's not necessary. You can ask those questions still. I'm not saying, oh, you're dumb if you wonder why Ruler was jamming too many jams into the jam, right? And then, like, you can ask those questions. Again, it's interesting, you know, even if in the original BFDI, you can make a state, you know, you can analyze the original BFDI and still wonder why X and Y, right? Especially with future context. And, like, here is just the thing. However, it's not like, I'm just saying it's not the default way of thinking, you know? The additional analysis is entirely separate to, the enjoyment of the show, right? Where in a number of other shows, I think that, like in T-pop, for example, you know, understanding one's actions and, for example, why they did them and how they did them, right? I think, for example, directly impacts the enjoyment that you have on what you're looking at, right? But in this case, understanding why toothpaste did the apology or whatever and how, right, doesn't impact your enjoyment of what you're seeing on the screen. Right, so like that's the primary distinction. You can still look at it, but it's just for bonus if you really like it. You know, it's not a need. It's not like a need to be able to enjoy the thing. All right, that's all for BFDIE. I will return you to the past, where I took a look at some at this point old new episodes from people from creators that I already covered. Bye. Alright, welcome back to the past from before I watched BFDIE 2. So, we will just be taking a look at a variety of releases from shows that we like from previously covered creators, because, you know, that's what we gotta do. We are very far behind on that stuff, about like 2 weeks behind, I think. So we need to make sure that we get that stuff all done for, otherwise it is not gonna be good, alright, if I don't. So, I am just going to go in order of release dates, okay, from the stuff that I haven't watched. So that means that we will start off here with Tostiff, or the Object Show sequel that is filler. 3 episodes have released since last time that we looked at it. Last time we looked at it, we had episode 3, where we had the eliminated contestant be garbage because they were garbage. And then we ended up having a challenge about getting like a mug or something, and they just ordered it online and it managed to work. And then eventually we ended up discovering that there might be a way for the eliminated contestants to escape. Well, let's find out in the next episode, starting with episode 4, Deep into Their Own Creation. Alright, that is the Object Show sequel that is filler 4. So, a very interesting episode. It feels like the first real episode that's trying to do a thing, right? It feels like kind of the episode that's going like, alright, beyond just challenge, we're trying to proper understand these people, right? Which I think is one of the things that was kind of lacking probably from the past season of the sequel that is filler, and realistically I'm expecting the old ones as well, even though I haven't watched them. That's what I'd expected to suffer from. And it's like I'm seeing it and I'm like, okay, I see. The first episode is trying to do a thing, you know, try to get more proper character interaction, arcs, better friendships, because like the other show sequel, it did have them, but it had them in a very like kind of, it had them in a small way, right? Like it didn't have them too much. It had like what 20 seconds to work with. But in this case, it's proper dedicating the episode. So it turns out that the teams are very much so beefing on both sides. Everybody is just kind of beefing. Like Shoe Sock and the blue paper ends up just getting keep making fun of. What you call it, flip note or something? It's like they're just keep getting made fun of by their team. The team doesn't care about them. In the other team, they're all debating the challenge strategy. I remember Bandana had the strategy that was bad of going to the store to get milk instead of ordering it. Which, if I'm not mistaken, that was what was going on, right? So that was like that plan, and it didn't work. When the other team just ordered it and it did work. So Pie's super mad about that and everything, right? And we end up having that situation until eventually that gets shut down for a moment to do elimination, where the eliminated contestant ends up being Pie. Pie ends up getting eliminated. If I'm not mistaken, I predicted that. No, there's been a while, so I don't perfectly remember. That makes sense. I mean, like, Pie didn't do a damn thing. Gonna be absolutely honest. Like, the detail is that I think that having an Algebraian as a character is really interesting. You know, because like the Algebraians are known as these super powerful entities, so having them actually compete would be a very interesting distinction that you could make that often people don't, right? So it's a cool opportunity. However, it's a cool opportunity that we don't take because we just made this Algebraian not do any Algebraian things. They just look like one for some reason and don't do anything. So like, yeah. So it puts out, you can just spawn the milk. Yeah, probably, but like we don't know because you don't do anything, and it's not ever stated that you can't actually be super powerful, right? So yeah, it felt like a little bit of a waste, unfortunately. So yeah, goodbye, Pie. You end up getting yeeted, and then we end up having ourselves the challenge. Okay, so this challenge is also pretty interesting. Write a paragraph about something you dislike, okay? because hold on, a comment attention, everybody here has a little bit of tension towards each other. So write something you dislike. Okay. This is the worst challenge idea I ever invented, right? Yeah, in terms of like, not like within universe, like it's a terrible idea. Because it's like, hold on. So, you don't want targeting, you want to, yes, let's mend the bonds by making people write about each other. And it's like, no targeting. Wait, what? That's the point of the challenge. The point of the challenge is that the people don't like each other, so you're making them write about it. So, what do you mean? Like, what in the world, bro? That challenge is it's genuinely abysmal. For it's like it fails at its purpose. Within universe, of being like, oh yes, I see that there's some tension. Release the tension. Yeah, you're releasing the tension on each other. You can't say no targeting and be like, write one thing you don't like if the characters don't like each other and that's what they don't like. You know, like it's just, oh my god. Thankfully, the other team also didn't do it, which I'm kind of surprised for. But I guess they did the only nice person on that team to actually write it. So, like, fair enough. But yeah, we end up having Plastic Head ended up writing a paragraph about questions that, of course, is very much so labeled as questioning. Because it's like, you need someone, constant need of clarification. He's asking questions. When are they too much, right? So it's like, it's technically not about questioning until like half of it, you know? So we end up, we end up having a little bit of the situation. I think realistically, you could have gotten away with it. If the last part wasn't there, like the wasted spot in the game, the wasted in the, like, because if you just say, for example, I am annoyed at the fact that some people ask too many questions and therefore I think that is the worst type of person. You could say that, and then it's obviously targeted at questioning. However, also not directly, right? Like it's targeted, but it's like it's not direct, which means that you could make the argument, right? Like, oh, what do you mean? That's not that. We're just talking about anybody. That could be you, for all. That could, that could be good rubbish. Could ask a question. I don't know, right? Hey, maybe. So, yeah, but being like waste of spawn in the game, waste of plays, and like, okay, there's a certain, like, one trick point, like, there's a certain point where it's like, okay, stop, like, at that point, it's very targeted. Our host Logie ends up getting quite upset because like, no targeting. It's like, well, I mean, you didn't say shit, and to be fair, that's also true. Me and I go like, yes, making a challenge about people that dislike each other, writing things that they dislike, and then get mad when they write things that they dislike. Like, bro, yes, great. Everybody's up for Elam, which is interesting. Colored paper, whoopee cushion. Bro, who's gonna? I mean, Plastic Head, surely? Maybe? Okay. Maybe? Or would it be whoopee cushion? Whoopee cushion made Plastic Head write it, but Plastic Head did write it. I mean, Plastic Head's probably gone. You gotta go. Even though I wouldn't vote Plastic Head personally, however, I think personally they gotta go. And then we have colored paper, which was what I called blue paper. Ends up going over to questioning to comfort them, being like, "Hey, I know how you feel. Cause my team don't like me for shit." So I'm like, "Yo, you get mad," and then questions like, "Well, how act doesn't even? I don't want to act like this. I gotta, like it's how it's programmed." Bro, we got the II in this bullshit. Look, stuff's happening. I guess we're gonna need to find out in due time, because it seems like some people have no idea that they were programmed. So it seems like it's a split. Some people were programmed, some people weren't programmed. I don't really know, but things are developing. Those two are like friends now, and we built that friendship pretty early into the season. So I'm interested now that like the relationship link, a new line has been made. Let's see if that line gets to actually stay or if it's slowly gonna lower in opacity. Let's go to episode 5, which was released 8 days ago. It is titled Rule the Duels. Go. Alright, so that is episode 5 of the Object Show sequel that is filler or toss the tiff. I'm not gonna lie, right? Like, I think that as far as shows that I've watched that have had relatively consistent uploads, I think this, it really does feel like one of the most improved. I feel like it's really managed to pick itself up, you know? Because, like, in terms of, like, the VA quality has gone up, right, in terms of like the characters being capable of portraying different emotions, right, especially with the case of like for example that film your opening line, like there's a lot of good emotion putting on that, or like being tired over that, like you can tell the emotions are I feel like they're being more felt than they were before, right? Pacing been massively improved, you know, when characters cut each other off you can tell, and when characters have pauses you can tell, right, which is one of the main problems with the original, right? And you know, the length is more, but it feels like it feels very warranted, right? Like, I mean, the last episode, for example, it's half the length of the entire season. It was the length of 4 episodes every time, you know, like it's kind of one of those things, and it ends up being very cool, because like I'm not gonna lie, I think it has massively managed to improve, which I think is very nice. So the eliminated contestant is not actually Plastic Head. I'm glad that people clocked that it's not really Plastic Head's fault. It's like it's 40% Plastic Head's fault. Because, okay, Plastic Head got prompted, okay? Plastic Head was like, hey, would you like to type about a person that you really, really, really don't like and dismay with all of your passion, right? So, like, you know, yes, that did happen. However, at the same time, it also is Plastic Head who just wrote it. Like, Plastic Head wouldn't have written it if the idea, because the idea didn't bring up in their mind. However, also they did type all of those things against questioning, right? And as far as I noticed, I don't think that Whoopi Cushion specifically was like, oh, you should write about questioning. No, it was just like somebody you don't like. And then the fella wrote questions, right? So like that was the idea. So I think that Plastic Head still is absolutely partially responsible, you know, for having this much resentment towards questioning and writing that out, right? Even if they got, you know, baited into it. But yeah, I mean, Whoopi Cushion also just has attitude, so I think that makes perfect sense as far as the elimination is concerned. But yeah, they end up leaving. They try to murder Logie on the way. Somebody's already tried that in season 1. Get with the times. And then we end up having ourselves a challenge, a new challenge. It's I guess a 1v1 balance beam. It ends up you know, push each other off the platform. You can literally get each other for all that I care. Do you see? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Do we care about our contestants or not? I'm trying. Last challenge was like, don't be mean to people. Don't be rude. And then in this challenge, we're like, oh yeah, you can murder. It's fine. You can do what you want. I'm sorry. Your morals are like halfway there. Your morals, like every other episode, you care about your contestants. Like, bro. And then you're tired because you made a bullshit challenge, and then got surprised when people did it in the bullshit way that they'd be expected to. Like, it's so dumb. But yeah, see, even in a case like this, right, like this challenge, like one of the things that this show suffered from, for example, that I remember pointing out, is that it was kind of, there wasn't too much action going on. Like, I remember I pointed that out in episode 1, quite a bit when I covered it, right? There was like, it was kind of just throw the thing, but we never got to see multiple people in the interactions between them, right? So like it was kind of complicated to really see, right? However, I think the action, while keeping the sideshow format, has also improved itself pretty well, you know? Like, you can, like, we got to see the people pushed off, you know, we got to see the drop kicks, we got to see the holds and stuff, we got to see the pushes off, the punches, like, we got to see that stuff, which is good. You know, like that's what we need. The action. So yeah, this show has managed to improve itself relatively dramatically in a relatively short amount of time. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, Questioning ends up telling Filmreal to stop at the last second in the final 1v1 because they're like, oh shit, bro's gonna vomit and it's not gonna be good. Which, I mean, okay, yes. That, yes, that is correct. However, yeah, Filmer ends up stopping correct, like by the command, and then ends up still getting yeeted. So it was 50%. It was useful advice. The problem is you shouldn't say stop. You should say like move. You need to attack this fella from the side. Because of course if you head it face on, then you're gonna get hit. But oh well. Filmio ends up dying, literally. So, Questiony ends up being kind of sad, but he's like, hey, yeah, they didn't ask questions. Questiony not asking questions. They are understanding things. Programming not needed. Who needs it? Who needs programming anyways? And then everybody else is up for elimination. I mean, Bandana has had you gotta go, right? Bandana has just globally been not very good at challenges. Hold on, what even happened to Bandana here? Let me check that because I don't remember. Bandana. Oh yeah, Bandana's going. Yeah, no, Bandana hasn't been very good at challenges. Gonna be honest. They completely threw the milk challenge. They lost this challenge pretty easily. It was against the overall winner, but they lost it immediately. And then in the last challenge, they only made it because their tactic was to not do anything. Right, it was just to leave it somebody else. So it's not great. But yeah. Eventually, Pi ends up using their powers a little bit to open up a hallway that's apparently a pretty spooky hallway. It has a lot of corridors and doors in it, and everybody keeps running down the hallway. You guys are going to find out what that is in one of the next episodes. Time for the latest episode, which is titled In Less Than a Minute, Episode 6. Go. Alright, so that is the Object Show sequel. That is Filler 6 and the latest episode. So, thing yet again keeps going on the blast ahead, going like, yo, we gotta do the whatever, we gotta stick together, no feeling, pure strength for all power. And somehow Plastic Head is still going along with it, even though the last time bro listened to those two, they lost the challenge, it made somebody cry and dipped. But maybe it felt good, I don't know. And you're still upset about Filmio's crash. It's not a crash. Filmio was doing the challenge. The challenge was to push people off the platform, and Filmio pushed you off the platform. What type of crash out is that? Okay, whatever. We have our elimination where Bandana ends up getting eliminated. The recommended characters apparently have been banished from the show. They will not be there anymore until the finale. So we end up having ourselves the losing contestant ended up being Bandana with 11 votes. I love the very subtle correction on the gender of the clown nose. But we end up having Bandana from the comment that says he and then there's she. But yeah, Bandana ends up getting eliminated. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where technically the choice wasn't obvious, right? Because it's okay, there wasn't really a gigantic reason to vote anybody in specific. However, if you take any amount of time to think about it, you'll see that each one of them has had a positive thing to them, rather than Bandana, which hasn't really, because one of the things, but Bandana left that one challenge to clown us. And I was like, yeah, okay, they left that one challenge to clown us. However, they literally had to. It was one of those situations where it's not a nice thing that they didn't need to do. No, they had to, otherwise they'd be called out because they fucked up the other challenge, So, Bandana ends up absolutely losing. And then we have ourselves a V challenge. So the challenge for this episode ends up being to climb up the tower. You get a bunch of tools to your disposal. And in the meantime, those two, Alogi and Skulls gets to chill. Sorry. I'm glad that is a thing that was mentioned in the show. I'm going to be 100% honest. I wanted to say it, but I didn't. I felt I was too scared to say it because I had fear looking dumb. Okay, because I was gonna say, technically the Skulls and Logi, within their actual characters in the show, there would be no way to know that those two are a thing, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, those Skulls just appear random. right, in season 1, right? So it's kind of one of those things that you wouldn't technically know. So technically, there would be a possibility that it's not a thing within the show. However, it is, right? But I'm glad that at least the colored paper does know. I'm glad that colored paper didn't clock it. I'm glad that it is a real thing that the show that we thought about. But yeah, the challenge ended up being really fast because like majority of people just kind of go up there. I mean, like, Logi's surprised as if we didn't give a grappling hook and a ender pearl berry that when you eat it teleports you to the top. Like, as if that was gonna take any time, you know? Like, if you gave no tools, okay, yes, fair enough, fair expectations, but like, you literally gave them tools that allowed them to skip the entirety of the climb, then yes, duh. You know? Like, it's kind of like, it's like, bruh, like, yes, that's what it would take. But yeah, the only character that doesn't manage to get up there because they don't have items and they help the other fella up is the plastic head, so their team loses. However, it's non-elimination because it was just so fast, which is interesting. Wait, is it non-elimination? No, it is. Wait, it's not? Is it? Wait a minute. Wait, what is this writing? I'm trying to find out what it is. Wait, is it for elimination? Or make this a non-elimination round, and then there's the verdict. Vote for your favorite contestant who's in the game. Oh, just in general. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Sorry, I don't know. I guess it just completely escaped over my mind. But yeah, overall, I mean, I'm very satisfied with how the show's doing. I think the show is really managed to improve itself. You know, from when I originally reviewed it back in season 1. I think that like it's improved itself massively. The episodes are getting more satisfying to watch. They're having more there's more dynamics going on, which makes it more interesting to watch, right? The episodes are being longer. However, they're surprising enough, despite being longer, they're not really taking more time. You know, which I think is the impressive part about it. Like these episodes are releasing at a very fast speed. I mean, it's all going great as far as the season 2. It's a sequel that's improving on the primary one. Yes, you know, like I'm a big fan. The main thing that I would probably do for a future situation would be to probably like for a season 3 or whatever. I think my main focus would be on adding terms of lore in terms of location. You know, like, because like it is still one of the things that feels a little bit bland about the show is that it is just being set in grass, right? And there's a store and there's a platform, right? But they kind of disappear, right? Like the tower, it's like that character. You know, that could be interesting, but that's like the only thing in the environment, right? So like that kind of needs a little bit more environment, in my opinion. Not for this season, because of course that would break it. However, for a future. For a future show, I would try to add more, spice up the location a little bit, make a location with spots in it, with things that are useful, right, and actually matter, right. But overall, show's in a very good spot right now. I'm very satisfied with it, and I'm very happy to see how the show has grown in a really short period of time, 2 months, and we've improved this much. Like really, it's very impressive. Next thing. Alright, next up we'll be chatting about the 22nd Lee Object Show. Yes, the 22nd Lee Object Show has had 2 releases in the past week, being episode 3 and episode 4. They're all 20 seconds, so look, let's play this quickly, right? I mean, yeah. Let's do that, starting with episode 3. Wait, we have done this before? Featuring Eros, the animator, presumably that's who animated it. Let's go. Okay, 22nd Lee Object. Okay, incorrect actually. The animator is on the description. That's a different person. Eros is the guest who is included here, who rates the scores. Doorknob eliminated. Yes, obviously. Everybody gets their paintings judged, so we just gotta say numbers pretty much. The best painting ends up being a 10 out of 10, drawn by Wikipedia, with that sticky note sitting on top of a tree. I'd be up for elimination. I'm gonna guess that Emerald gets eliminated because of the art that they do. That's a little bit goofy. But it could be for any other reason. It's kind of difficult to really predict. But yeah, all right, good job. Yes, you know, the sticky note, they did do a good job. Welcome to season 6. You did well. Episode 4. Who the fool is that? Featuring Old Bryland 3. All right, two people get eliminated in this episode. Actually, the pretzel stick and Anchor. So okay then, fair enough. And then we have the chance to say the longest word. Overall, pretty solid animation here from Brylan, who maybe is probably also the guest who takes away clock at the end. Oh no! What is going on? They have disappeared. What will the contestants ever do? It's a little bit of an interesting challenge to say the longest word because you have to say it correctly. So technically, what Pepper Chicken say, quasi-rhombic-dodecahedron, no, like what they can say that. Technically, if they said it wrong, it wouldn't count. So it's a little bit of a risk. Although certain, it's just dumb. Come on, like dude, Emerald is trolling. You see what they drew the other time? You just say the letter A. This guy is trolling, and we're keeping them in. Come on, do better, audience. I'm predicting that Claus is gonna get eliminated for just not being very interesting. But like, we gotta get rid of this freaking Emerald Titanium guy. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. What are we doing? They're clearly throwing. Okay. But yeah, that's all. Overall, I think the idea of having an animator per episode has been that's been a pretty solid switch up here. It makes the episode feel all pretty distinct from each other when I think in the past few seasons, even though the style itself was a good style, it kind of staled itself out, right? So yeah, that's all for 20 sauce. And next thing. Alright, next up, since I said originally that I was going to cover it, but I never got around to it, so Battle for Obama Hamburger, we covered that a couple of days ago. There was a request, and since then they released the Christmas special, I think on the day that I reviewed it, which is kind of funny. I said I was going to look at it when I did, so that is in fact what I am going to do. Yeah, I don't think there's too much preconceived lore, just kind of a short, there's not any specifics about it. It is titled Christmas Criminals. It was released a couple of days after Christmas, because of course it was. Let's go watch it. Alright, that is the special for Battle for Obama Hamburger, Christmas Criminals. Yeah, I mean, overall, there's really not too much to say about this one. In the same way that there wasn't too much to say about a bunch of the Christmas, not the Christmas, but of the general specials. It's like it's pretty sweet, this one, to be fair. It's got a nicely laid out plot. It's laid out a plot. It plays to the plot. It does the jokes that you'd expect it to do. However, it's kind of fun. Again, personally, I think that Christmas is like kind of cheesy time, right? Like, you get to make the classic jokes. You get to make the classic, there's not too much innovation you got to do in Christmas. Christmas is about tradition. And I think having the classic jokes like, oh, look at this tree. That's definitely a tree and not a guy that was a tree that we murdered. Like, he's like, that's fun, it's not the most original thing in the world. But like, it's a fun concept. And of course, seeing the freaking sewer drain diss about, no, I got family, bro. Like, yeah, it's a fun video. It was an enjoyable time. Mr. Green's belt was like, yeah, I mean, you did that for sure, like 100%. Then they carved out a star out of the heart locket that would count as a star, which they murdered as well. So yeah, it's great stuff. Circle is off in the wilderness. They did find a Christmas tree, to be fair. They did find a Christmas tree over there in the forest. What do you call it? Textbook and Mr. Stackers are off in the back rooms. Like, Mr. Stackers finds a tree and then finds it's one of the evil entities shaped like a tree. And then we also have Orange at the end doing the monologue, and then this one new highway sign. Who the hell is this? I have new character dropped into the lore. Ends up doing it. To be fair, they actually have a sick design. I thought they were like a computer chip, though. They do not really look like a highway sign. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what highway signs we're using over there, but it's kind of interesting. But I guess like your eyes are ones and zeros, which is interesting. So there's some interesting designs going on, but yeah, overall it's a cute little Christmas special. There's not too much to say about it. I approve of it. It has itself a clearly laid out lore. It's a bit cheesy, just like Christmas, so I approve of it. And yeah, it just kind of it's all fun and games. It's not trying too hard, but it doesn't have to. So yeah, overall, I approve of the Christmas special for Battle for Obama Hamburger. And that is, I think, all I can really say about it. Let's go to the next thing on the agenda. Next up, a pretty quick one. So, Dreams of Absolution, the current username of the creator of BFDIE. I'm sorry, it just changes quite a bit. About a week ago, uploaded the Object Joke 1, which is titled RFTB 4. So, as far as I'm aware, I'm not sure if this is a season 2. I don't think it is directly. However, yeah, I don't really know what it is. It's a show. That I know that. So we're gonna just watch Object Joke 1. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna see what it is. Unfortunately, Object Joke isn't quite as good as the name as BFDIE, but you know, sometimes you can't break perfection. Let's watch it. Alright, that is Object Joke 1. So, Stop Sign and Paperclip, if I'm not mistaken, were two characters that showed up in BFDIE. However, they showed up quite differently, because if I'm not mistaken, what's in Stop Sign, that one character who was just laid down with like massive eyebrows and was just like a void music played every time they were playing. It was just like, oh, right? Like, there's no way. This cannot be that character. Like, this, you have to be a different guy, surely. It can't be possible. But yeah, they're hosting together. They're probably a couple. We end up having themselves going to the city, and the challenge is to shop. Shop for anything. Please be the first one out. Wait. Just be the first one out. Okay, so just the first person to shop and buy a thing is safe. So, yeah, for some reason, the other characters end up getting massively over-confused and going, nah, you gotta say the most amount of stuff. But actually, no, you just need to shop for anything. So you could have gone in there, bought a banana, and got out, and you would have won, because you technically shopped a banana, and you got out. So, you know what, fair enough. We did manage to, however, to get, the honey, honey pancake thing. Wait, you know that thing that wooden thing where you like spin around and you get the honey? I don't know what it's called, but yeah, you end up doing it, and they end up being safe because they're the only one who actually shopped normally instead of trying to get the most possible things. So fair enough. Everybody else up for elimination, and we get to find out who they are. Orange Snail. Okay, fair enough. That's a funny idea. Okay, Honey Nil is what you're called. And then there's Cappy. All right. We have Garfield Plush and Gamer God. Don't know why they're called Gamer God. But yeah, there's Rubber Spatula that we just fucking shrunk down the teapot asset. And then there's Spellbook. That's an interesting idea. Printery. No, is that a printer? That's a USB cable. I'm not gonna lie. Then and then that's it. Those are the characters. So yeah, who's getting out? I don't really know, because of course we don't get to see majority of them. I'd predict probably the Garfield plush, because they're the only one that doesn't have an asset and they're not even placed correctly into the thing. However, yeah, overall, Object Joke. It's interesting. We've got a cast. Majority of the characters don't get to speak in the episode though, which is a little bit unfortunate. I would of course make it so that more characters got screen time properly. However, in general, I mean, I think the cast is okay. The voice acting is okay. Stop Sign a little bit, kind of this more awkward character who's like, I don't really know how to host, but I'm just gonna talk my way into it, right? So like, yeah, it's fine. I think there should just be more total time allocated to the contestants to actually talk, so that way we can have a perception of them. Okay, that's all. Next. Alright, so next up we will be discussing Vile Tiles. So Vile Tiles is season 1 of itself. It is one of the other mainline shows created by Liamation. Liamation, I'd say primarily makes WoW another show. However, the other mainline show that they make is Vile Tiles, which had episode 5 released about a week ago for New Year's. Yeah, it has so far had 5 episodes, so we are going to watch them. Apparently, 20 contestants joined Gremlin Show for a mystery prize in this monthly animated series. Now, I'm struggling here to not notice that for a show that started 10 months ago, there's 5 episodes. Monthly, eh? Let's go. Let's start with episode 1 of Vile Tiles, which is titled Umbrella. Alright, so that is episode 1 of Vile Tiles, and you know what? I am very, very pleasantly surprised by what I just saw. I'm gonna be honest with this one. That was impressively solid. I'm not gonna lie. It feels very different to us. I was expecting something kind of similar in that vibe, but this is different. There is other stuff going on here. From the point of the fact that we have color matched the subtitles, let's go. That is immediately one of the best features that a show can have. The intro is very solid as well, which is nice. I like how it translates like into the like it transitions. But yeah, we have ourselves the explanation of the show. Okay, so before we get into the point, I actually talk about the show. Okay, I'm not like this is kind of funny. I was saying, so in this show, as if then you just proceed to escape. The one team will lose and one person get eliminated. Okay, great. It's just a regular show. But then we end up having that the twist is that apparently the surrounding will change every time with the tile cube. The tile cube is a giant thing, and apparently you press a tile and it switches the surroundings, okay? This concept is okay, I mean, I see the potential within it. I'm not currently massively like intrigued because what are they gonna do? We're gonna change the color, like so far the example that was shown was just like changing the color of the of the backdrop, right? Which is I mean, if the grass is purple or green, it doesn't change too much, right? So it needs to be used to its advantage, right? If it's like, it's ice now, it was like, it's lava now, like, okay, that's interesting, right? Like, it has the potential to be interesting. We just gotta make it interesting. So I see the concept, we gotta make it interesting, right? But yeah, then we end up having ourselves our characters get introduced a little bit. A couple of them appear, and then we have some solid shenanigans. So confessionals exist. That's how you know it's a good show. When there's confessionals in the show, automatic better. Love me some confessionals. And I think with these confessionals, they're really showing off one thing. Is that this show, I think so far, what I really liked about this show primarily, right, was that it had a very solid pacing. The pacing of this episode was very well done, to be honest. It was actually rather solid. I actually was quite an enjoyer of it. Because it did like it did everything right, especially with like the confessionals. You see how like it had the interactions get sorted, in certain of them. Sound effects as well. Yeah, it had like a shit ton of sound effects. Had the confessionals come in at the right time. However, they faded in pretty quickly, right, so that it's not necessarily too big. They're mostly used to like use gags, right? We're like enhancing everything with the confessionals. We're also using all of those like situation for guys. Yeah, but it's just well timed. I don't have a perfect example right now that perfectly illustrates exactly what I mean, but I think in general, if you watch it, like, you can kind of feel it. Like, it's paced pretty well. It's paced the kind of like if would I say Total Drama? Total Drama is probably the inspiration. However, Total Drama, I don't think it's exactly like this, because Total Drama just has more time to work with. However, I think it's taking the primary pacing elements that Total Drama uses with its confessionals and with its character interactions, and placing them here, right? So I think that, yeah, it's doing that primarily. In terms of animation quality, I think that animation quality, it's pretty solid as well. It's doing it's mainly doing quite a good job of camera angles. I'm not gonna lie. It's pulling off a lot of camera angles. However, okay, well, it's not. Is it pulling off that many camera? It's pulling off an amount of camera angles. Okay, I think it's fine. It's roughly WAS level. And then the voice acting quality, that I got surprised was an increase. Again, that was one of the problems is that it kind of suffered from kind of having phone-ish mic quality. But in this case, you have a bunch of different voice actors. You can really tell what they're doing. The characters themselves, they seem to have an interesting a set of personalities. I really like how the Lemonade's like a little hat that actually acted as an umbrella when they were falling down. Candle being the goofy one, Diamond is the smart one that kind of uses them as well. The like mechanical hanger is kind of interesting. The characters being super rich and they can't do much, so they need help from the ones around them. For some reason, nobody likes the social rainbow. There's 10 from Was, who's just there for some reason. There's a Spellbook who can apparently do dark arts. There's the Dime whose entire mission is just to rage bait this route for the entire time. Like, yeah, you know what? I approve. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say. That I say that this episode gets my seal of approval. Because it was good. It was a good episode. It was well paced. I really hope that we keep it moving. Because like especially because the next episodes get longer, which I think is interesting, right? I mean, of course, we're gonna have teams, and they're gonna be more proper, right? But like overall, if it can keep this pacing into the next episodes and like keep it moving on that, it'll have a show that overall it actually ends up feeling pretty original, because it's not that often that we end up having a pacing done like this, and then also end up being pretty solid. So overall, I'm hoping for the best. I've got hope. I got hope. Come on, Volatile. Don't disappoint me. Episode number 2 is titled Hot and Cold. Here we go. Alright, that is Volatiles 2. And yeah, I mean, I was still trying to figure out before if I was like describing it correctly, right? If that was the thing that I was describing, that was like the positive trait. But yeah, no, absolutely. The pacing is the thing that I think it does really well. The way that like it keeps the energy high, you know? It knows when to cut off things for humor. It switches sentences quickly, right? Without too much of a scene transition. It does just a very good job at doing it for gags. It does a good job of just making things happen with confessionals, you know, and all that stuff. Everything, like, stuff runs at the speed that it has to, you know. I think it's very nice. Which, like, yeah, I'm kind of surprised because Was had this problem in a way. Like, it was one of the things I thought Was did wrong. That sometimes it didn't have that, you know. Like, sometimes, like, what was it? I remember complaining, like, for example, the music when it was a 50-minute episode where there were like 5 songs in it, so it was like 80% song, right? Like and it just wasn't all actually happening, for example. But like, yeah, this stuff is very solid, and it's not just pacing; it also does a good job. Like, there's also some solid audio editing as well. With, you know, the different vocals lined up on top of each other, like when Watermelon get kicked off when apologizing and their voice just slowly fades out of the For You. Like, that's audio editing that has to be done, but it's being done. There's not, like, stuff is getting made, stuff is getting there, and it is doing pretty solid. But yeah, we have the Magic Spellbook apologize to the Skull for kicking them off the other time because, you know, Skull was trying to be there. I mean, you could, I would say that, you know, the book is honestly justified, to be honest. But, yeah, our host fella ends up eating like a contestant that are up for elimination and bringing them into the mouth, because apparently the host is Teef Keef. Teef Keef is a thief. I don't know, one of the thieves. They're red. By the way, there are subtitles for this one. Partially, we did like 40% of the subtitles, and then we just gave up on them. So, unfortunately, we don't quite get the colored subtitles that we got during episode 1. But, you know, those were a bit magical. Sometimes you can't. All good things don't last forever. So, but either way, Teef Keef, a very relaxed elimination host. They got interrupted about 7 times, and they're just like, okay. Today we got 43. You know, they're getting into it. They're doing pretty solid. So far, they're looking pretty nice. They respectfully go like, hey, please don't interrupt me. So, you know, and you know what, the contestants respected it. That I like that. I like that, you know, because hey, it's that mutual respect party, right? It's like, okay, if you respect me, I will respect you, which is something that I think hosts don't necessarily quite realize as much, you know? Because it's like, a lot of the time, we end up having these hosts do kind of their thing. Even like the main actual host of the show, right? For example, ends up kind of going off and making up their own rules kind of at random, and you see that loses respect from their contestants. So it's not that, oh, they're all going to be rebellious if you don't host the show properly. No, it's just that, like, you have to follow the rules. If the host plays fair, then the contestants will play fair. I think it's really interesting. Like, for example, any episode where, like, X hosted, I felt it's like a relatively respectful episode, because it's like, there's mutual respect. X doesn't go off on the contestant don't go off on X. It's pretty solid, and I'm nice. Yeah, we end up having the eliminated contestant to be none other than 10. 10 ends up getting eliminated with 10 votes. But yeah, good job on doing that. I like the gag of the fella of the macaroni. Ended up asking, "Yo, where's paper?" And then they're like right next to them. But yeah, 10 gets eliminated. That makes sense, because it's like, we want to see the new contestants, and having kind of the old guy that we already know about get on here is like, and that's gonna need make volatiles less, because like the thing about it is that again, having 10 as a contestant in this show directly harms it, because you need to understand this character. You need experience, right, to have watched it. Not that it's bad to watch. It's just that, like, it stops this show from being fully independent. So I agree with the contestant decision to keep them off either way. Eventually, the other fellas get spit out back out, except for 10, which actually remains there. So presumably that's just the elimination place, which is interesting. Our fella just ends up sorting out the teams based on entertainment value, apparently. As the contestants don't get to choose their own teams, because apparently this fella felt like speedrunning. Okay. So we have the Blue Bandits. So the Blue Bandits are comprised. Let me try to clock who these are. Okay. So the Blue Bandits are comprised of Electric Hanger, a Rainbow, Candle, the Charger, the Lemonade, the Orange Block, the Mushroom, the Plunger, the Skull, and the Cactus. Okay, what am I seeing out here in this team? I'm seeing... I'm not seeing a lot. I'm not seeing a lot of leading personality going on here in this team. This team's a little complicated. I mean, it's got some strong players. I think that Lemonade, the Electric Hanger, the Charger, they've all got solid ability. It's a very ability team, but I don't know if there's anybody who's going to direct them into actually doing smart things. But if somebody can direct them into doing smart things, like Skull or something, then we got some solid ideas. The other team, which are the Magenta Magician, end up Magenta Magician is the purple spellbook. We end up in the purple spellbook, the magic spellbook, paper. They said your name. I don't know why I don't know the name. You're not called Beetroot. That's a different thing. What are you called? I do not. Radish. Yes, radish. Oh my god, I do not know English language. So yeah, Diamond, the Macaroni, the Boot, the Dime, the Water Bag fella, and then Watermelon. Okay, this team feels much more statementy. I feel like Diamond would try to make a case. The Spellbook would try to make a case. The Radish would try to make a case. The Macaroni might as well try to make a case, right? And then the other fellas are just kind of neutral. So yeah, they kind of feel like they're opposite. The Blue Bandits very capable, however struggle a little bit. The other team not as capable, but should have more minds to actually decipher what they're doing. A little bit better, and the Spellbook is still capable, so they're not fully independently out of magic powers. So okay, I see. I'd probably say overall the Magician should be a bit better, but we're gonna have to see. Yeah, again, I like the gag of the contestants one raising their hand to ask a question, and then the fella just says go. Like, it's just, you see, they're simple gags, but they're funny. They're well paced. They're very reality show-esque. But yeah, the challenge, the first proper implementation. I've noticed that I've talked too much, but like we'll just kind of gloss over this, I guess, a little bit. The challenge and the first implementation of the Tiles actual system, the tile zone, ends up being that apparently every couple of minutes it switches from super cold to super hot. The challenge is survive. It's not an amazing challenge. I'm gonna be absolutely honest, because it's not a challenge you can do much about. You know, like there's no item, there's no way to like warm yourself when it's cold or warming when it's hot, you know, which I mean it's not something that the contestants even try. Like technically, you know, if somebody's really cold, they could try to get electrocuted and then maybe they would heat up, you know, something like that. But the contestants don't actually try to do any of that. Like they really don't. They just let the elements to deliver, and for any character who doesn't get destroyed by the elements, they end up just having a battle down there at the end. The battle ends up getting done in IRL, which, hey, it's not lazy. It requires every single one of those papers to get drawn and then get moved around properly with the sound effects added and everything. Like, it's not as lazy as you think. It's more of a technical decision, but it is, like, there's not laziness going on there, which I think is rather fun. But yeah, it's pretty cool, and yet again, the timings of like the pacing of when stuff happens, the way that stuff gets cut off, and jokes are made, yeah, it's pretty solid. I like it. The humor of this show, it's pretty me. It's pretty me. I like the joke of like where like the jokes are relatively simple, but the way that they're timed is kind of fun. Like that's the type of humor that I think I gravitate to what some of the most. So yeah, I feel like this show caters to me quite a bit. Who should be eliminated? The Magenta Magicians. Personally, I think absolutely Paper. I think the gag with Paper is entirely that Paper is kind of that one contestant who everybody thinks is cool but doesn't actually do anything. Kind of how Box and II was like, the jokes that they don't move but everybody's fascinated by them. Right, like that's Paper. So I'd personally eliminate them because it doesn't seem like they're gonna move. So yeah. Alright, episode 3 of Tiles is titled Ocean Man. Dallas, Dreamcast game, whatever. Ocean Man. Alright, that is episode 3 of the hit series Tiles, also known as Ocean Man, which is the name of the episode. So we have ourselves everybody getting revived, and now here we end up having ourselves a little bit of a situation that this show has to deal with, right? Is that, okay, it has settled itself in, I believe, structurally to a very successful point. In my opinion, the show is, yet again, very good pacing, very good. All of that stuff has remained the same. Animation quality complements the random things that happen. The pacing is very solid, and it remains solid, like it's not really worsened. All of those technical aspects I think are very solid. So then there's the one thing that it has to kind of solve, and it's writing of the characters, right? Because it's done a pretty good job at setting us up with some duos, right? Like it's done a good job at like settling in a character like Paper and Macaroni. Like we get that, right? It's doing a good job doing the duo of Candle and Diamond. They get so much screen time. Diamond, I believe, has a majority of total confessionals. If you were to count them, I think it is. By this point, Diamond has more than 50% of all of the confessionals that scenes in the show, which is insane, right? I think it goes for Radish and Dime, right, or a quarter, whatever you call it, right? Like you end up that those duos are very solid. They're very put together, right? But then it means that there's a couple of characters that kind of remain out of there, right? Like yes, Rainbow and Orange. That is a set of two characters that hasn't really gotten any time on the screen, right? Same thing goes for a couple of other characters like Watermelon's. Like I get the basic gist of a character like Watermelon, but Watermelon still not really had any type of spotlight, right? Boots not really had any type of spotlight. Mushroom really not had any spotlight, right? So this episode I think does a relatively solid job at trying to give those characters a little bit more to work with. It's really taking advantage of those 2 extra minutes. Those 2 extra minutes really allow it to do it because like you get to write deals for them primarily while still keeping a scene to all of the, you know, the established favorites, right? Which I think really help it. overall. But like, yeah, it's doing pretty solid. I always like to say, in my opinion, on an object show should have that episode 1 to 5 range be entirely dedicated to this, right? To setting ourselves up, getting to see every character in the thick of it, in challenges, how they perform, how they act, right? That way we get to more properly see them, and that way after episode 5 we can get, you can, you know, start arcs and properly execute on things. But currently, we just kind of need to get a full understanding of everybody. And so far, I think the show is doing a good job of that, right? The eliminated contestant ends up being expectedly Paper. Paper gets expectedly eliminated. Yeah, again, it didn't seem like they were gonna move. It's kind of that weird character because it's like they are not literally nothing, right? Like the joke isn't that like it's not like Box, right? Because the character like Box is that they are literally just a box, right? They're not even remotely similar to a person. The weird thing about Paper is that Paper is a person with their eyes open and limbs that move, right? Like they can stand and they can sit. They can do these things. However, they don't act. They don't do anything. So I don't really know if they could do something, but doesn't seem like they will. Eventually, we end up everybody going onto a bridge, and then the challenge, as the tile ends up being, the tile floods the entire system with water, the entire base floor, and the challenge ends up being find the golden child underwater and place it on the podium to win a go. A couple of the water ends up splashing on the water balloon, which makes them feel fully rejuvenated because of this, which is nice. Old, but still got it. And also, as a prize for getting the least votes, which is now a thing, you end up having the magic spellbook gain a drill hand that they can use. Okay, so here's the thing that's a little bit complicated to think about, is that I'm not sure I'm a big fan of this, because it's like, okay, the drill hand is cool, right? However, you're kind of making the rich richer and the poor poorer, right? Because it's like, okay, so you're taking the character with the least votes, so probably the favorite character, and you're taking the favorite character and giving them a trait that makes them even cooler as a prize. Right? That's kind of the situation. It's like, hold up, what? You know, like it's kind of, because having a viewer decided prize directly makes that the favorites gain something cool, and then they become even more favorite, right? Like if it's something like, oh, if you win the challenge, best total performer gets that prize. It's like, okay, yes, but you can write who gets it, so it doesn't have to necessarily be just a fan favorite. But in this case, the fan favorite will win the prize every time, and therefore the fan favorite will become even stronger of a fan favorite every time, right? So I wouldn't personally recommend this prize system, although I do think that, like, I think that the prize is well written, in terms of the drill is well written. It's used actually in the challenge as being important. It's nice. Lemonade with the cracks, very solid, right? But like but despite that, I still think that it's not overall a good idea for the health of the series, because it will make the more favorite characters be even cooler, and the other characters be worse. Right, so that's what I believe. But yeah, apparently we have a couple. Yeah, we also learn about Cactus, for example. Yeah, see Cactus, which you didn't know nothing about. Cactus apparently an engineer, pretty popular. Apparently they're rich or something, right? As we found out from episode 1. Rainbow says Rainbow says sorry to the orange guy, ends up making acquaintance with them, laughing a bit too much at their jokes. But either way, like they just kind of. They're interacting. They're doing pretty solidly. Nice, because Orange Man, I think, pretty much entirely skipped episode 2 in terms of interaction. Didn't do anything. But yeah, Cactus fixes up the robot hangar because, you know, they were broken. And then Plug. Okay, Plug. What happened to Plug? I was trying to. So Plug is the last survivor of the last challenge. No. Yes, I think. Right. So they end up surviving. They end up kind of becoming like literally. They pretty much. They're not burnt to a crisp, but they've kind of just melted away and become super weird. So Plug kind of has to die. You know, like I know when you sustain too much damage. Like I feel like that's what's happened. I feel like Plug probably realistically would have to die so that they could get recovered normally. But until then, it's kind of complicated. Candlesticks by their side to try to figure out what's going on, but yeah, it doesn't really work. Plunger and Skull, yeah, these are two characters that also haven't had too much of a use. They could probably use the next episode. I think the next episode should really be those two Boots, who still like they've not really done much. Those fellas. But yeah, Diamond ended up deciding to skip over the challenge for that moment because yeah, they felt like it. Lemonade yet again goes like, "Yo, I'm only doing this. I'm only teaming up with these people because of the advantage. I'm only teaming up with this person because of the advantage. I'm teaming up with this and that and but but yeah, Radish and you know what? Like, I kind of respect our quarter here. I'm not gonna lie, making it your entire life's mission in the competition to just be hilariously annoying to this one person is actually hilarious. I kind of love it. I kind of love it. I think it's good. It's a great tactic. I think more people should employ it in real reality shows. But yeah, Radish not very appreciative, but the fact that they don't necessarily just like that they don't even just like yeet them out anymore. I don't know. I feel like we might be warming up. But yeah, a couple of things happen. They break a golden egg. Oh yeah, Rainbow, the fella. They break a golden egg. They all get eaten and die. And yeah, eventually at the final moment, the spell cube ends up having a fight with Lemonade, which ends up being pretty cool. However, it doesn't actually last that long because it lasts about like 2 or 3 seconds until you know we freaking just get drilled. But hey, at least a mushroom can breathe underwater. On the last second, we're trying to. The spell cube's about to not make it until eventually, Diamond ends up pushing Candle over about as gently as they possibly can, and they manage to win the challenge. Good job, Diamond. You won, despite being the person who did the least on your team. No, actually, technically Plug did less, but you know. Or did Plug wait? What team's Plug on? I don't even remember. But anyway, the Magenta Magicians ended up winning the challenge, and that means that this team. The Plug is on the other team, yeah. So that means that the Blue Bandits are up for elimination. Yeah, I mean, okay. I'm never a fan of finding challenges. That challenge was okay. It was written okay, especially because they had multiple people finding it at the same time. However, I mean, in general, I'm not a big fan of finding challenges because, you know, they feel very red inconvenient, right? Like, again, it's finding it. You'll either will, you know, it's luck, it's RNG, you know? Like, at the end of the day, wherever you find something, like, you can have tactics, but at the end of the day, you might just not, right? Who should get out? Great question. That's actually, I don't really know. Because, like, we're trying, I mean, Mushroom, surely. Mushroom is, like, the annoying one. I mean, they are funny, but, like, it depends, like, if we're considering the funny annoying. Like, are we considering annoying funny, or are we considering annoying funny annoying? Right? That's, which one of the two are we doing? Not really sure. However, yeah, I guess we're gonna have to find out. That's all. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna have to discover. In Vile Tiles, episode 4, which is titled Thunderstruck. Alright, so that is the 4th episode of Vile Tiles. So, yeah. Alright, it's doing what it should be doing. It's doing setup for characters that weren't too interesting before, but now they are. Remember how I say, yo, Plunger ain't really doing too much shit? Well, Plunger has just become the most interesting character. Funnily enough, Plunger has become the most interesting character by not being there, but, like, they've still actively been interesting. So, we know that apparently as of the initial scene and also the post-credit scene, they're both at the same time. We have the magic spellbook wake up in the middle of the night, in the middle of the forest. They wake up and then Plunger comes in and fucking shoots a gun at them. So that way they die. And then Plunger proceeds to say, nobody knows, or something like that. And then that's it. That's all we know. And then Plunger proceeds to not appear to just a cardboard box that says a couple of Plunger's lines that obviously completely tricks Skull, because Skull is dumb as shit. And then we end up having that situation. So, I don't know. It is interesting that, like, Magic's got shot and they remember, even though they presumably got revived. Okay, I don't really know, but what could happen? I don't know, because the thing about it is that, like, Magic's spellbook wasn't, because it would be like, oh, okay, they were doing a secret activity now, and like nobody's got to know. It's like, okay, but like, Magic's spellbook was literally asleep. Like, there was no way that they were doing anything, right? So, like, Plunger could have just probably just left them asleep. I don't know, like just like what it needed. But I guess the fact that they were sleeping there in the middle of the grass could be suspicious, right? Because like, oh, were they brought out there by Plunger? I don't. What does Plunger do? Right. But at the same time, it's like, oh, they're sleeping in the middle of the grass. Okay, where should they sleep? We don't have houses. Like, I guess they could just be sleeping on the grass. That could just be normal, right? So I don't really know, to be honest, what I'm expecting here. It could be many things. It could be many things. My presumption, I think, still has to be that no, but they would have remembered what? Because there wasn't a loss of memory by the shot. Like, it just Plunger was there. Shot magic spell, but for no reason. There can be a reason. I'm sorry. How would there have been a reason? Unless that's the evil gun that makes you lose your memory, except for the memory of the gun itself. No, I don't know. It's not making much sense right now. But eventually we end up having a fly go into Diamond's throat. Very, very nice way to have a VA change, because apparently that's what we're doing. Diamond got recast, therefore we had to write it a new voice for Diamond. That makes sense. That's a good way to do it. I like how people do that, like instead of just having it subtly appear. Actually, the voice sounds different, right? Which for Diamond, I mean, it kind of did, not too much, but like a little bit. So yeah, we end up having ourselves the elimination. So the elimination time ends up happening with all of the fellas. Yeah, it turns out that the robot hanger fella is not doing great. Yeah, I mean, they were fixed, but they were also not really fixed, right? So yeah, it's not looking great on that aspect. But we end up having ourselves the prize going for Rainbow, which gets 0 votes. I don't know how characters are getting 0 votes still. With there's like 50 votes, we're getting 0. That's like crazy, right? But yeah, the end of the eliminated contestant ends up massively being Mushroom. Yeah, just the fella that makes the most sense, right? Because the other characters, you feel like, oh, we're doing interesting things, but Mushroom was just entirely just there to deliver the one gag and didn't show too much signs of doing anything other than the gag in the prior episodes, right? Because you can do characters where like, oh, in this episode that's their own joke. However, you can do that. However, like, they have to be interesting before for you to understand, okay, in this episode is like this. But like with Mushroom, the other episode was nothing and the episode is this. This is all that they are to us. So yeah, goodbye Mushroom. You end up sticking there. I'm not gonna lie, that is an abysmal rotation of characters that's eliminated right now. Those 3 would make the worst pairing ever. The elimination's not been quite fair, but oh my god, those 3 must be the most boring trio I think I've ever seen. Because originally, because I would say things like, oh, we should get scenes about how those fellas are doing down there. But it's like, no, we shouldn't. Look at those 3. Those 3 are the awfulest combo. They would have 0 conversation. You know, like, oh, bro. But either way, we end up having the prize of being Rainbow earns a double jump, which is nice. So that's cool. That is rather cool. And then we end up having our challenge be a thunderstorm. So the challenge is we're in the middle of a thunderstorm according to the tile. The tile just turns on weather. We're not really using the tile system as I expected we would. I thought the tile system would have physically changed the earth, but it kind of changes the weather more than it changes the earth, you know? Like, it changes, like, to super hot, super cold, and it changes it to, like, super, like, you know, it's not physically changing the earth as I was expecting it to. It kind of just changes the weather. It's like a weather machine. This guy's, and I guess it can also dunk a barrel of water. Right, so that's the challenge. Simply build a shelter within the thunderstorm. Best shelter is going to win. The 2 teams go off and do that to various degrees of success. Okay, there's a little bit of a thing going on that I think we forgot during the writing of this episode. Is like, hold on for a moment. Okay, so like, we have literally having an arc related to, oh, this hanger robo guy has water damage and therefore he can't do stuff, right? Or same it goes with the plug. That's like, oh, the warmth from the other thing has made it struggle. Okay, hold on. you're telling me that we're in the middle of a thunderstorm? It's pouring rain. I'm telling you, it's pouring. A thunderstorm's a really, really strong rain. Like, it should have really, really strong rainfall. Okay, and in that time frame, for somehow that stuff doesn't affect their technological fellas at all. Maybe not plug. I don't know how plug works, because like plug has to be plugged in. But like the robo fella is like, no, it does not affect that water. Does not affect them. No, not at all. Because I'm thinking, okay, then surely it would just glitch more. It would just break. But like completely, because like you're literally in the middle of a fucking thunderstorm. But no, apparently that's completely fine. That's the thing. I think that's a complete oversight. Like, I mean, come on, like that's just bro, right? But yeah, they end up building to various degrees of success. Cactus eventually decides that they were going to try to reconstruct the robot, just a little bit change of their mechanism, because like, okay, well look, you're currently glitched, you don't function, so we can use it to do well for the challenge, and when you fucking die, then maybe you can get recovered properly. Like, this is kind of what's happening. We're not doing the vital solution that you can debate as moral or immoral. People should probably just die, so that way they get recovered and they're fine again. Like that in the life of objects, that's a very, very valid option, right? But yeah, everybody ends up fighting for Plunger, and then we end up having Candle chats to Rainbow. Okay, so those two end up having their own conversation while that's happening. Okay, yeah. Do I remember? Yes, I remember. Okay, so what those two end up chatting about is that Candle goes out, well, I mean, like, we pushed each other off, and it's like, it felt, it still hurt, because, like, I know she's, like, my friend and all, but, like, still kind of hurt, though. Which is like, okay, yeah. Okay, but like, I feel like it's because, yeah, no, Candle's definitely over-exaggerating. Because, like, okay, Diamond coming in and stalking was definitely terrible. Well, it was objectively a bad idea. However, as it was objectively a bad idea, I think that, like, it's still just that bro's over-exaggerating. I mean, like, you gotta remember, you're trying to win. Right, like, you're trying to win. Alliance is you help each other out when possible. But, like, if it's a 1v1, right? If it's a you versus me, I'm not gonna go like, yes, you win now. Like, you have that. It's a 1v1. It's supposed to 1v1. And it's like, bro, and then after Diamond drops in, and they're going like, no, I'm not. This alliance is over. You're not my friend anymore. And then Diamond gets super sad about that. But yeah, it's not great. It's not a great look on Candle. Candle's over exaggerated. It was like the lightest push as well. Diamond did the lightest push. It was a tripped him. It was like no force, like 1 Newton. Like it was nothing. But okay then. We end up having a couple of other beefs. The macaroni and the water balloon continue beefing like potatoes. Radish and Nick and Quarter continues to troll Radish. Until a bear.png comes in and chases them off. Yet again, the drill here from the spellbook, and the coming in close to try to murder Lemonade. So yeah, fair enough. Hey, hold grudges, and that's it. Again, we're trying to win challenges out here, bro. And then we end up having the whole shenanigan. We reconstruct the fella to be a building robot, and it ends up mostly working. However, unfortunately, a Thunderstrike just so happens to hit at a convenience moment and get into fit. To be fair, that scene looks extremely cool, and the cabin ends up being half finished by the time that they're done. The other team ends up using brick to manage to build everything. However, unfortunately, yet again, a conveniently placed Thunder ends up putting it on fire. We end up putting out the fire. BRWBNG comes in, however, because Radish was there, and then ends up destroying everything. And then it's just an abysmal thing, just in general. It's not exactly going great. And then we end up having the halfway cabin win by just kind of process of elimination. But both teams do pretty abysmal, which is at least it's honest. Would the two teams do very well in this scenario? I doubt it. Oh yeah, Bear.png ends up being the pet, and then this team is up for elimination. Okay, so the Magenta Magicians, have we done a perfect this, that. Are we doing, like, I think we've done a perfect beep up, like a back and forth of people for them. Not too good, because then it becomes predictable. Like, I swear to God, if the blue fellas are up for elimination, bro. But, okay. Let's say, there's a couple of options here. Macaroni, I think, is the most clear one. I would personally say to vote Macaroni. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think, yeah, I would vote Macaroni, because everybody else kind of is fine, right? Like, Diamond is more, I don't think it's Diamond's fault. You could interpret it as Diamond's fault for stalking. However, I think that Kando's overbearing. So I'm gonna say that I think Diamond is safe. The duos are safe. Watermelon and shouldn't be safe. Spellbook is part of that whole plotline with Evil Plunger. However, it's the victim. Boot at least help construct, and the water balloon at least try to be the leader. I think Macaroni's going. It's gotta be. Alright, I've talked for too long. Episode 5 of Vile Tiles, and the latest episode of Vile Tiles called Sticky Vile Tiles. Here we go. Alright, that is the 5th episode of Vile Tiles Sticky. So, yeah, we have another episode that's mainly focused here on, you know, the arc with, a Diamond. Of course, that's kind of the main topic, but let's start off at the beginning. So we end up having a little bit of chatting about Macaroni. So people don't really like Macaroni. Macaroni is very annoying, and indeed we end up doing the whole shenanigan there. Diamond and they're going like, yo, I don't have a defense problem, and then Macaroni ends up having an idea, and they give off the idea of throwing the challenge for the sake of the friend. Presumably that's the idea that Macaroni gave out, because I don't know what else it would be, which is such a stupid idea. Oh my god. Like, that is crazy, bro. That is elite tier. Also, okay, first of all, I thought, like, come on, it should be common sense here on Earth, as two users of Earth, that Macaroni can't be trusted, okay? And secondly, what? You're out here, okay, because, like, Kando was upset that you took advantage. Okay, so I get it in theory, because like Kando was upset that you took advantage, that you, for the sake of winning the game, you pushed Kando, whatever. Yet again, Kando's over exaggerating to a hilarious degree. It was like the lightest push. It like tipped them over, and then it was, but whatever, right? Like Kando is in the wrong. However, Diamond's chase back is extremely desperate and also wrong. In this case, they're both wrong. Okay, like basically, it's like, the best way for me to say it is that Kando was wrong at the time. However, Kando has become correct in the future, right? Like the opinion, Diamond has gone on to turn the incorrect choice into the correct choice there by Kando because of the desperation. That's pretty much what just happened. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know. But yeah, we have ourselves the elimination. I don't know why Macaroni suggested it, because of course, like, it makes sense for Macaroni to suggest it if they're eliminated. However, they're not eliminated. So like, Macaroni was literally suggesting, yo, you should throw so that we lose. And it's like, wait, duh? You know, but like, I don't know. We end up having the fella Macaroni get eliminated with 16 votes. Comparatively to the other fellas. There's also a side arc going on. Watermelon ends up becoming a little bit less scared, and they're going like, yo, you gotta make a name for yourself. I know you're not that strong, but you gotta just do it. Right? Like, you gotta do something. And they end up going over to do it. And that's pretty... They end up being kind of the other mainish character. But yeah, with 16 votes, end up being eliminated. Yet again, I like the mutual respect that gets given towards the tooth, because the tooth is respectful, you know, says shut up when the contestants are talking too much, but like, other than that, it's like, you know, it's like, yo, and then the contestants listen, because like, we'll play nice if you play nice. Again, that's the thing. I think that's cool when like they don't do that to the host. They interrupt them all the time, right? But yeah, Macaroni dips over and gets to relax with paper. The rotation of eliminated contestants is not any better. This is still an abysmal set of 4 characters. But we end up having The challenge. So the challenge. Actually, wait. First, the prize. What was the prize? Oh yeah, the prize from the water balloon was just to become a balloon, just to get inflation. That was the challenge, which is interesting. And then eventually we end up having Skull and Plunger skip out the challenge. Plunger makes sense. Plunger's literally not there. But Skull is kind of just at random. Apparently it's because Lemonade doesn't want Skull to get hurt. Or at least that's what Rainbow is wanting to imply. And I mean, Lemonade dodges the question. So usually that would have been yes. So okay, interesting enough. Lemonade likes Skull. I think it's fine. Kind of like trying to act up and like I care. But yeah. The challenge here: a deadly slime will be placed upon the tile cube. Make sure to survive. Yeah. I mean, it's okay. Again, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting the tile cube to be, because I like, again, it should have something to do with the surroundings, wasn't that, the idea was that it was going to change the surroundings, right? But, this doesn't change the surroundings. It changes, it doesn't change anything. It just adds a thing. It just adds a slime. I don't think that this challenge is valid to the concept that gets originally brought up for Viotile. I don't think it does. I'm gonna be honest, right? Because it's nothing changed in the environment, nothing changed in the world. I think we're gonna have change where the world changes, so that way a challenge gets constructed around that world change, right? However, it's not. And I mean, look, it's a cool idea. You can do an infinity of ideas with environment changing. Imagine this. Boom, no light anymore, and then you have to just kind of shine your way through the forest or something, for example, right? Or again, as I said, lava would be interesting. Floor is lava. It's a really simple concept that many people have done before, but this show is very encouraging to that idea, right? Same thing goes with being super mountainous or something, right? Or high altitude or whatever, right? Or super windy, all that stuff, right? So the other ones have been chilling there with the weather, but yeah, this one's the first one that I think truly does not fit with the system. I think the challenge doesn't fit. But yeah, eventually Diamond starts freaking yeeting people over because they feel like doing that. It doesn't end up going great because Watermelon manages to somehow eat it. Watermelon manages to somehow survive and get it to work. And get the LiminalLatte. We discovered that Orange Cube has a face. It's just orange, so you can't see it usually, which is interesting. Yeah, we got to discover that. Everybody's pretty surprised by that, which I mean, hey, fair enough. Somehow Quarter ends up still dying. Radish is starting to at this point get so disappointed that it's almost funny. But yeah, the Watermelon does get a cut when fighting Diamond, which does look pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. That's like top 10 wounds. That's it looks sick. Look at the battle scar. That should just be a part of the design. Trust. But the other team used the power of friendship with Rainbow and Orange Cube, and they ended up managing to do it. Shout out to friendship. Friendship is just cool. But yeah, eventually over to Kando. Diamond goes and Kando goes like, bro, you're not just gonna throw challenges and get me to be your friend again. I don't like you just to be around. You need to understand this detail. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate there for Diamond. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just bad, There's a certain point where if somebody said no, a certain point knows no. Right, you can't be desperate, because if you're desperate, it just looks bad, right? So yeah, no, it's not a great look for Diamond. It's a pretty bad idea for Diamond as well, and they do end up losing as well, despite the fact that Diamond flopped. Diamond literally didn't succeed, but Watermelon just didn't really have the opportunity to try to win either. The other team just ended up kind of winning before too much. But yeah, overall, those two are done. Diamond is all crying. That's probably going to be, the next problem, the next episode. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I still think that this is a bit early. I'm not gonna lie. For this arc to happen again, usually I start thinking that these arcs should start like about episode, like it should start about here. However, I think that like having an episode that's like this kind of overall focus, plugs back to normality, ends up kind of being a little complicated because like there's a lot of characters that were kind of not like there's a big imbalance, okay, you know. There's kind of a big imbalance, I think, in this cast. That's like the main problem with the writing. Because other than that, everything else is pretty solid. I think the pacing of the show, yet again, has remained great. I think that jokes in the show are great. I think that overall, the animation quality is very solid. It's a very nice. It's very nice for the style that it is, right? Very fluid, and doesn't not afraid of action scenes, not afraid of anything. It'll just do everything, right? And then VA quality is also very solid, pretty consistent, right? So like it does everything. It's just maybe that individual writing could still use some work though, because I think that it's suffering from the problem of like, again, even in writing, the rich getting richer, you know? The fellas that have had their arc started keep getting episodes with them as main characters in it. However, there's a lot of other people like Water Balloon or like Boots like that just kind of don't, like in this team for example, they just don't really get anything, right? Even Spellbook is like, there's not really actually that much going on with Spellbook, you know? Like it's kind of complicated. I would personally, the obvious prediction is does Diamond get eliminated? The idea should be probably yes, like realistically speaking, right? However, I would personally vote Boot, because Boot is the type of character that's looking relatively uninteresting. Their joke is that they're bass boosted, so you can barely even hear them. You can hear them so much, like they're so loud that you can barely even hear them, right? Or you can barely understand it. It's a better way to phrase it. They're kind of just memey, and they're not really doing much. And again, in 5 episodes, we've not really developed them nearly at all, right? So that's the character that I think definitely needs to go the most. So I hope that the viewers see that. The viewers have been pretty good at voting out the character. You know, I managed to get my predictions correct, and my predictions were based pretty logical. So I would do Boot, because I think Diamond around is inherently interesting, right? Because like it creates a dynamic. It's like you can't be trusted anymore, but you're super sad, but somebody's got to console you, but there's nobody there to console you because there's only the fellas on the fucking other team to give a shit, right? So like it's kind of complex. That you lost trust of everybody in your team. The fellas on the other team don't really know what the fuck happened, and ends up being a little bit of a problem, right? And there's Rainbow, who's kind of the fucking middleman, right? So like that's kind of the situation. So it'd be interesting if Diamond stuck around. So really hope Diamond sticks around. But I have to predict Diamond to get out. It just makes it, you know, like yes, I have to predict Diamond to get out, like obviously. And then in the other scene, Skull goes over to find the evil plunger, and then the other plunger points a gun at them and says, "Don't move, because they're gonna shoot them." And then Skull's gonna die, and then Skull's gonna come back, and then Skull's gonna be like, "What the fuck?" And then look. This makes no sense right now. I don't know if this is like I don't know, but I'm just gonna be honest that this makes literally no sense. It's like, what's the point? Like you just got a gun. Like it doesn't change. Like you won't forget what has happened. Or be that like you wouldn't. You literally wouldn't. This is not how the object memory has been shown to work. You know, Diamond, for example, died, and when they got respawned, they remembered exactly what the hell happened, that they failed, and there was watermelon left, and they managed to lose. That is literally still what they remember. So if a plunger very clearly says, "Don't move," or nobody has to know this, and then proceeds to shoot you, then it's like, okay, you would know this. You would remember it. This would be information. You know? Like, you wake up and you go like, "Oh, plunger's over in the forest with a gun." You would have to know this. There is no way. Right, like it's not like it is just a gun. I refuse. Like it is way too plot convenient for Plunger to have the gun that also acts as a memory removal of the last 30 seconds, but not about you dying, only about the part where I caused you to die gun. You know, like that's way too convenient. Don't be that. Like that can't be. Doesn't make sense. You know? So, like, I have no idea what they're trying to achieve, but like, whatever it is, shooting people together to forget is not a valid tactic. It is literally not. Like, bro, whatever. That's that. But overall, Vita's really good. Go watch it. Oh my god. Like, I love how you get mad and say, "Oh my gosh, it was really good." But actually, I really like it. I was very impressed by this show. I think it did everything that I wanted it that I wanted to do. To be honest, like it does. I think it doesn't quite. I think have perfect writing. However, it has perfect pacing. It has very good animation. It has like the best animation moment from was. Really implies it. With team eventually to also help out, voice actors being very solid. Yeah, just it's solid on like nearly every department, and even writing is fine. It just like, you know, I'd personally have a couple nitpicks of it, but writing's honestly fine. Like the episodes of I don't have much of a problem with them. You know, just nitpicks. So there's nothing major that's wrong with it, and that means that if there's nothing major wrong with it, it's just good. Shout out, like, I thumbs up emoji. All right, next thing. I don't know what it is. Alright, let's check up on Malaysia then here for a moment. So, ImanimationMLY, or the creator of Fight to Live from random Malaysian character FTLFRMC, has released 4 other episodes within the past week. This is a hilariously fast schedule. I mean, like, slow down. Let's watch them, starting with episode 5, or episode 5A, titled The Gliteach. Okay, yo, so plot is happening, alright? As usual, classic reminder before any of this discussion, I do not speak Malay, therefore that means that I cannot understand natively what they're saying. I have to translate, so that helps it out sometimes. However, in general, I kind of going off visual element more than audio element, more than like the dialogue, okay? Alright, so we have ourselves, apparently, so some of the contestants want to take a break, I think is what's happening. At least this blue fella wants to take a break. So they end up deciding, yo, y'all can go take a break. They end up going over to the beach, they end up enjoying life. You know, the hanger, the other fellas, they're just enjoying life over there at the beach, chilling. All these contestants, they go over there, do some cannonballs, you know, have a good time. And then 3,000 years later, that's obviously the SpongeBob joke, they come back, and you know what? The host, the guy who I don't know what they're called. The guy ends up becoming evil. You can see half the faces red. They got the black ultra evil hand on them. They have activated their inner Dandy's world twisted, and now they're trying to murder everybody, and they're glitching out. Presumably they're the Gliteach. Haha. And we end up having, for the blue fella with scissors, for some reason, is, we end up having a meme. You know, those edgy memes? I don't know, we end up having one of those. And then eventually, the fella fucking opens the head of the fella, takes out a light bulb, and then it was like, I'll show you later. What? I do not know what just happened, but okay then. That might make sense. And then some evil red, like, freaking air entity ends up invading. And what is it? Is it gonna, like, even more evil? Is it gonna be, like, ultra evil? What is happening? Yeah, it ends up invading because the head was open. Like, bro, what? Okay, that's crazy. I continue being a believer that the A and B split is entirely not necessary. I mean, like this release 2 days after the last episode, you don't worry, you can make you can take the extra day and combine the A's and B's and make a good episode. You don't need A's and B's. But okay. Time for episode 5B, episode 5B of FTLFRCM. Which is spelled wrong. That's fine. It's titled "What It Can Do." Alright, that is episode 5B of FTLFRCM, and we end up having or MC, right? It's spelled, title's wrong, but anyways, blue fella, I still haven't really clocked what they are. They have just spiky hair. They're like a glove, I think. telling the job application about the light bulb that can be used to save from the evil fella, which has really turned ultra evil. I was joking. I was not expecting ultra evil. Their limbs have now become all spiced up, you know. And then they go over with the light bulb, and apparently, you know what? The light bulb actually has me in it. I am in the... That is me. I am the one who was in the light, but what am I doing in that? I don't know. Time for a forced cameo. When did I say that? You know, I think I said that about what the hell? I said about like the Malaysian show, right? The fight for Felicia. Oh my god, I did. I said about this when it featured Alif. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm there. Like. I like characters that use voice lines. So if I am the character, if I am the voice line, yes, obviously, like apparently, then I have an epic battle with the evil fella. That's a stick figure animation. It's a cool fight. It's probably rotoscoped, is what I predicted. But overall, it's pretty solid. I end up dying though. I end up losing, which, you know, fair enough. I wouldn't bank on me winning that either. But then. Just enough time for the head to open and the light bulb take a shot in it and get the fella back to normality. So that's nice. Alright, and then eventually at the end of it, evil new character Black Squiggle ends up asking me, who's alive again somehow, how am I back alive? What did I do? And do you want to join me? Wait, what? Yes or no? That is the answer. Do I have to choose? Like, do I have to make the decision right now? Does like this lore not continue until I choose right here, right now, if I want to join evil Black Squiggle or not? I mean, I don't. What do I think? I think that this. Look, I mean, I don't know. Am I a force for good or for evil? Cause like I'm kind of. I was in a light bulb. Right, and now I'm getting approached by this squiggle. I would need more context, but like I think it would be narratively more interesting if I said yes. So I'm hoping that I say yes to joining the Black Squiggle. Okay, I'm curious. You know, if I'm gonna be evil, I'm gonna be evil. All right, that's it. But yeah, I mean, of course, I appreciate the cameo. Quite a bit. I think it's fun. How do you say thank you in Malay? Thank you. In Malay, how do you say that? How do you say it? Let me see. I'm trying to. I don't think there's. Wait, I don't think it says how to say it. Terima kasih. I think time kasih. I don't know. But I'm trying to sort it out. It's not working. But yeah. One thing I do want to point out, I guess we'll talk about this episode for a little longer because I'm fucking in it. Is that basically I wouldn't. Okay, here's the thing. I wouldn't recommend. Okay, to be 100% honest, I wouldn't recommend adding random people to your show. Right? Like forcing cameos, I don't think is a great idea, right? Because you don't know if the people are gonna like it, you know, like you can't just make a show and add another person's thing into your show if they're not okay with it, right? For me, I don't mind. You can cameo me in your show, like that's perfectly suitable. However, in other cases, like, you know, when I was talking about Battle for Reflection, right, it's a little bit weird because like, okay, what if they don't wanna, right? Like that's kind of the thing. I don't know if the permissions, everything, right? So we do gotta keep that in mind. Right, when we're chatting about it. Personally, it's not a problem for me. However, just like kind of keep that detail in mind when like don't just kind of take people stuff and put it in your show without asking them. If you don't have reasonable expectations that they wouldn't mind, right? For me, I don't mind. Absolutely, I don't. If I'm a character, I'm a character. I don't mind that. I enjoy it actually. But yeah. Alright, let's keep it moving. Episode 6, which is titled Meeting with F.C.U. Cast Again. A special episode featuring F.C.U., who's the creator of, well, you know, that show. Let's watch it. Alright, that is episode 6, a relatively chill episode, you know, the fellas, they're just kind of frolicking about, nothing important is going on, and it's a little bit, like, it's kind of funny, it does give off, like, kind of TV show vibes, where it's, like, one episode we could be dealing with the end of the universe, and then in the other episode, the plot is about, like, somebody stole the food, right? Like, it's kind of funny, but yeah, this does kind of have that vibe because there's not really a competition going on. It's not really a plot going on. It's just kind of like, to be honest, is there a competition? No, there's no way. Like, there's not a competition going on. It's just kind of like a general show of things that happen in life. You know, like, it's just kind of there's not a lot going on. But yeah, overall, it's pretty cool. The other fellas, they're meeting, they're having fun, you know, chilling out, enjoying life. But then apparently this fella, the blue fella, which we now know the name of, they're called Cible. I don't know what that means, but so I still don't know what object it is, but it's called Cible. And we end up having them chase the cloud fella, who has a name. Do I remember? No. Because they stole the something. They stole like some food, I think, that they need back or whatever. However, before they can do that, time's up. You know, the allocated the playground time is over. So the F.C.U characters will go over back to their show with flip phone. The kids are off. Okay, the kids have been separated, and now the fella ends up dipping away without having returned the valuable item to Mr. Cible here, who ends up being quite distraught at this information. But that's the episode. Very relaxed little episode. Not a lot to say about it. It's very, look, it's one of those things where, like, it's very fair when you consider that it's made in a day. Like, if it was made in a day, yeah, sure. Again, I would still recommend taking more than 1 day to make an episode. Like it's not a requirement, you know. However, if you're gonna take 1 day, I think it's a pretty good thing to make in 1 day. All right, time for episode 770. It is titled "The Twin." Dun dun dun. All right, let's see. Alright, that is episode 770. But yeah, so we end up having ourselves the twin showing up. Fizz, or F-I-S-S, is apparently or formerly named the Cyber. You changed your name, apparently, from the past. And the other fella is like, hello, oh, you're okay, I've been looking for you. So they get teleported over to the other fellas. Apparently, we get to discover all of the siblings. So we end up having the Paper Dude, the Seablade. Those are the ones in the show. So then there's Fizz, and then there's some other fella that is the spiky hair gun. There's apparently Pointy Ked, Hex, Caxis, Browy, Bang Bro, and the question mark. They all have a number above them. I have no idea if this is their ages. Or, no, it's not their ages. It's how many spikes they have. Oh, okay, that's interesting. But either way, Fizz is there, and is telling, like, oh, I'm your twin. It's like, what? We have twins? Okay, first of all, I don't know how you don't know that you have twins. You're standing next to your fucking twin right there. Like, you know, Paper Bro and Sybil, like, those are two of the twin. Like, how do you not know you don't have the, what? Like, I'm sorry, what? But secondarily, Fizz ends up deciding to shoot them with a laser that they also have, and then run away, and then go like, thank you, bye bye. So then the other fella that I now know the name of, the flower thing, what are you called? You're called Ringgit Malaysia. I end up calling our host here, who's been hanging out with the other set of contestants, and being going, okay, I'm a Raven. So yeah, apparently it's coming soon, and that is the end of the A episode. I mean, overall, as far as the dividings between A's and B's, I think that this is probably one of the better ones. You know, it's a more logical moment that if you were gonna split an episode. Again, I still think you don't need to split an episode. You can just make a concise storyline all in one video, and it's a better watch. Yeah, now, however, it's a more convincing video. However, if you're gonna have to do it like this, then okay, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, overall, that is the current state of a fight to live from random Malaysian characters. It's going alright, you know, for a show that has such an unbelievably fast production time. It manages to get a decent amount done. I would be curious how it would actually play though. If it took its time, you know, like, it can get 2 minutes done in 2 days. Like, what if it took a week to make? Like, what if it had a weekly episode that was 8 minutes? You know, like something like that. Like, there would be a lot of possibility you could do. You can make longer term storylines. You can make arcs. You make characters grow better. You know, like it kind of just starts. You start imagining what it could be, because currently it's so limited by the fact that the story has to be small, right, to be able to work in it. And even then, usually they're not small enough, and they end up being divided into A's and B's. So like, I would just try out, maybe even just one time, just trying it out a little bit longer, the longer storyline. That's a longer one video that I need to put into A's, B's, C's, and D's, and then we'll see how it does. Maybe it does well, maybe it won't. You know, like, it has to be. It's a concise experience that doesn't require 7 videos to watch. All right, that I think that would be solid. But yeah, all right. Next thing. All right, the final thing that's going to be in this video is episode 3 of BFGP. Yes, BFGP, this show that I watched about 2 months ago. I'm not going to lie, it has been a while. 3 months since I originally watched it, so I'm not 100% remembering what was going on in this show. The last challenge was to climb on top of a tall building. It had an epic battle there. And then we found what happened. The freaking gumball machine last second saw some sort of storyline thing, and we ended up remember the other fellas came in. Yeah, the other team ended up being up for elimination because he won. And then they went up, ended up fighting. The other fellas were just going over the elimination, the elevator. They drop over, and they're the only one who manages to make it over the after the 1 hour over the freaking Squid Game tiles. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of remembering. Sorry, it's been a bit. Episode 3 of BFGP is way longer than the previous ones. It, of course, had itself a reasonably long production. The Tower of Tumble. Let's see how we're doing over in the BFGP arena. Alright, so I have watched episode 3 of BFGP. So, there is one way that I can describe this show, right? And it's, you know those things, right? Where when you're looking at them, you kind of go like, okay, something's happening. I don't know, it's not quite explained, right? However, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not quite explained what's happening. It's one of those things where, imagine a creator commentary for this, where like you're watching the video alongside the creator, and then you know when you're watching a video alongside a creator or something, and then they're like pausing and giving you the tidbits. Okay, so this is the face because of this, and then this happens, right? So like they're kind of giving you the intel of the decision, what was going on in their head when they made the thing, right? This feels like something that would benefit tremendously from that. You know, not saying that we should do it, but I'm just saying that this really feels like the type of thing where it's like, I know every decision that was made in this video makes sense to the creator of this video. You know, it's one of those things where you just say, you can tell by how intricately it's put together in a way where things are happening, and it's like, okay, I'm sure in their mind there is a perfectly thought out story arc. The problem is that the perfectly conveyed story arc is not portrayed to us over here on the other side. You know? Because, like, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what is going on. This show tries non-verbal storytelling and then skips everything. Right? Like, that's kind of the thing that it does. I'm not even joking. I think from like minute 3 to minute like 8 or something, there is not a single piece of dialogue in the episode. You know, you have a musical number, and then you have like some other scenario. You get to see the arcs, and it's like, I tried to see if like, okay, am I just dumb? It's like I don't remember, that I don't understand. But no, it just doesn't really make sense. I'm not getting enough information to understand it. You know, it's kind of, you get to see the start of a thing and then the secondary of a thing. You know, like for example, there was one moment in the battle right between Wrench and whoever else, and then that other person randomly in the next frame is on fire. How did that happen? There is literally nothing that I could have possibly indicated from the previous frame that that was about to happen, you know? And it's unfortunate because like, I'm sure that the real explanation is probably that we were thinking, okay, so what then happens is that you see there was an epic dodge, and then we end up having a lighter, and then we light them on fire, right? For example, you know, that's super simple way to do it. But like you see something along those lines, where like if you do this and it's like okay maybe, right? However, none of us portrayed; it just kind of imagined. So like I don't know what happens. So we start off here with the elimination getting hosted over there in the fella. Overall, this host is it's a very interesting for impression when it comes to voice. But yeah, the eliminated contestant ends up being none other than wait, who does it? I don't remember. Oh yeah, the electric duo. What do they do? They unleash electricity, and then a fire drops down, and then that makes a tree fall down from the sky into the forest. And this is an important tree apparently. Oh yeah, McDonald's M ends up getting eliminated with the 2 votes. The host has no idea how many votes there are. That there should have been 3, but there's not 3. It's what happened? Are there 3 or are there 2? Like, this is a complete number. There's not maybes. And then when they get eliminated, we get to see okay, an eyeball. Then okay, they bring over the fella. Then we end up having the eyeball and heading into the intro. Okay, yes. So then we have the intro, and then another eyeball shows up. Okay, we had to see the fella use their powers. Eyeball. Okay, another eyeball. Eyeball closes. Then we get to see the host with the eye behind them. The eye unleashes something. The host turns all evil and dark. The different hand shoots a laser at them. And then they're both possessed or something. Mooney spends 20 years, becomes a corpse. Then we have the eye open again. The eye closes. And then the scene transition. What happened? You see what I mean? I have no idea. I literally don't know. I'm trying to understand the show. What is that? What happened? You know? Anyway, the challenge is a battle royale. Last to stay on the platform wins. That's not called a battle royale. That's called a balance beam challenge. But yes, you end up having a couple of people get ripped. Okay, yeah, sure. Again, even here, some things are happening that are weird with these people. But either way, like I don't know. The USB fella, they get yeeted somewhere else. And then within some like dimension, then they end up where PDA is. Okay, so then this cake ends up falling down. Okay, and then they fall down the floor. They walk away, and then a musical number starts. Okay, all right. I'm going to just so that you understand. Okay, just so you understand, I'm gonna watch this musical number live. Okay, you're not gonna see it, but like, I'm gonna describe to you every scene that I see. Okay, in real time of how I'm understanding it. Okay, now way you can understand what the problem is. Okay, all right. So, they are walking. Alright, they see the host presumably with a knife behind them. Okay, they're coming in like, ooh, I'm gonna get you. Then they hide in a house as the fellas, you know, they're hiding. Then they're on a boat, and then they're thinking about them on their mind. You know, I can see something in my head. And then they're sleeping somewhere, maybe. Then they look from afar, and the host is there. Okay, which is problem. The host is looking at them with a really weird expression, and then, you know, they might be in my head. Is it all in my head? Is the host in my head? Okay, yeah, sure. Then we have a shot of them from really, 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 really far away. Okay, yeah, cool. And then they actually run. They weren't far away. They have binoculars where they're looking somewhere. Where they're looking, and then a really big hand reaches out, and now they're falling somewhere. We're back to the white void land. They fall in a gigantic hole. They seem to get they get taken over, and then 2 ghosts drop in as they have this really weird expression. Then there's a split between them and one of these ghosts that I don't know. Then 50 years pass apparently. And now they're all glitched out and screwed up. They're like a corpse. And then the host comes in, drops them again, looking like a toy, you know. And then they're coming in, they turn, they see the exit, whatever, where is the exit? Then they're at the edge of the cliff, the host is probably behind them. Then they're both running away from evil black goop maneuver. Okay, yeah, sure. They're doing that, and then these evil people, there's a couple of other characters, they're looking at them really scary, and then there's another, and then the cake is there. I don't know what they have. Somebody's holding a knife now. Somebody's holding a knife. It's the circle, they're coming in, they stab the cake fella, and then they seem to run away as they drop down on the floor and dead. Okay, yeah, sure. And now they've been fucked up because they've been stabbed by the hate knife. They look like W.D. Gaster. Okay, yeah, I'm getting it. Then there's a scene of them just laid down on the floor, like just looking dead as shit. All right. And then we stay on this frame for quite a bit because the music is not, because the music wasn't having lyrics about this time, so it wasn't doing too much. And then there's a frame of them even farther away, laying down, looking dead as shit. Okay, yeah, that's fair. And now here they seem to be screaming. They're screaming the lyrics of the song. They're looking forward, and the evil black goop host, the non-host evil fella, is coming in. Then we have a boat, and then they're running over from a cliff that's disappearing behind them. They stare, but oh no, the cliff has reached the edge of the cliff. They're just on a platform now. It's about to have everything break, and they're gonna fall, and they fall. They have fallen from the thing. Okay, all right. They have now fallen from the thing, and now they're walking away. We're back to the Greenland, and they find the tree. And you know what they do with the tree? They stare at it super suspense, as if this is the most important tree in the world, and then fade out, and then that's the end of the musical number. Okay, I have just explained to you everything that I caught from watching this scene. From what I just explained, did I just explain anything that makes sense? Did I? No, be 100% honest. Did I just explain something that makes sense? Because I did it. Like, I just told you, I told you a vague set of events that don't seem to have anything to do with each other. Because you're on a boat, and then you're not on a boat, and then you're on a cliff, and then you're falling down, and then you're in a hole, and then you're coming in, and then there's the evil coop. Then I thought it was the host, because it was the circle, right? And then it was the other one, and then no, the actual circle is all black, and it's the evil, and then no, they're both running away from the other fella, and then you're getting stabbed, but then you're the one stabbing, but then you're the one evil, but then you're the one that's fine, but then you're the one decomposing, but then you're back okay, and then you find the tree, and then the tree is important, and you want to touch the tree, and what? It's like, there's a vision here, Like, I actually think that those graphics, they look pretty nice, Like, if it was a flashback that made sense, I think, oh, it's a cute little musical number. That's fine. That's cute, right? I like it. I like the concept. It's just it doesn't make sense. It does not. Really doesn't. That's kind of the big problem, which is very unfortunate. Like, that's kind of the thing about it. Like, that's kind of sad. We have a battle. We have a random song. To be fair, the song's kind of fire. Paint Palette doesn't cheer along with them. They kind of come in at the last second, shoot over, and then the other fella. We have some fighting going on. This as well, by the way. Like, even the fighting isn't fully understandable, but at least then I can, like, that one's more, like, I get it, usually, what's going on, right? But, like, I wanted to put in the example with the song card, because I think, with the song, the musical number, because I think that one makes the most sense, because that's one of the most things that's trying to tell a message, and yet it's one of the ones that fails the most at trying to make me understand what message it is, that's kind of the situation. So, that's the thing. The last person to stay, if I'm not mistaken, is Wrench, who manages to get everybody else to go off, after fucking burning them with fire that didn't exist before. So good job, Wrench, on having won the challenge. Everybody else is up for elimination, episode 4 soon. Let's see, what the voting card? Okay, so, I'm not sure who I'd eliminate, because a lot of people don't have too much of a presence in this episode. I'd probably eliminate the Coke bottle, like the CC, from that one team, because they're the only character that at least I don't even remember appearing at all. And over there on the bottom team, probably SG, kind of that. I don't remember what your name is. However, like probably them. They're the one that does the least on that team. Or wait, is this the same? Oh, you can vote two people on the same team. Okay, so yeah, I'd vote, like, I think those two would be the ones that are most at threat of going, right? Because I think that makes the most sense, you know, overall out of them, because the other fellas all seem pretty important. And then just to close it off, you know, the cherry on the cake of the show that doesn't really make much sense. 40 seconds of a white void. Nothing happens in the last 40 seconds of the video. It's just nothing. Great, good stuff. Adore it. But yeah, what I think is cool. Like, the show is overall, I like the concept. I just think that it doesn't make sense. You know, if you can get me a story that makes sense and you can animate it in this way, it'll look cool. You just need to make a story that makes sense. All right, great. That's it. Outro time. Alright, and with that will be all for today's episode of Object Catchup. There's more keep-ups to do, however, like, I was like, I just realized at a certain point that I was like, oh, I left too much stuff. I just kind of left too much stuff. I think as long as I get, like, roughly 2-hour episodes out, you know, I think it's reasonably valid for me to, you know, not cover everything, because, okay, look, yes, I could, I will delay another day and then make a 4-hour video, but, like, no, stop. Like, you know, like, whatever. Whatever. I've done enough, in my opinion, in terms of things that I took a look at today. So yeah, I'm not sure if there's gonna be a video tomorrow covering the rest of it. It depends a little bit, because I may be doing other stuff and not being able to get the video done. In which case you will still see another video on the channel. You will see something will happen if it's not catch up. But either way, I think I covered the main things, you know, especially the ones where, like, people were kind of asking me, the creator, you know, they were kind of directly asking me, like, yo, watch this thing. Is that okay? Yeah, I can watch the thing that, you know, got asked for. So yeah, but overall, I think that was a good day for me. Okay, in my opinion, that was a good day, because I did nothing yesterday. Because yesterday I was out of it. Right, so since yesterday I was out of it, then it's like, okay, yeah, then today it's fair, right? Okay, all right. For the shows that we watched, we're all caught up. See you next time. Goodbye.